Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. My name's Thomas, and I'm fairly new to this whole AuthorTube thing, so I got 12 questions that I stole from Cody the writer, also an AuthorTuber, shout out to him, that I figured would bring you closer to understanding who I am as a person. Oh, that was a stupid idea. I can't see shit when I have my lenses on. Like I said, my name is Thomas. I've had this YouTube channel for like a year, a little over a year now, but I didn't realize that there was such a thing called AuthorTube until I was doing NaNoWriMo in November. Why don't we just get started? The first question. What is your book's pitch? I actually have 2 books in the works. I have my book, which is a young adult tween fantasy book about a little girl who is not a human, but she grows up among humans, among paladins, and it is her big dream to become one. And throughout the book, I should really have prepared something for this. I'm doing this without a script. The great pitch this one is. This little girl becomes aware of a plot to assassinate the leader of the Paladin Order. She struggles with getting people to listen to her. So it's a bit of a boy/girl cried wolf story. And on the way, she meets a pet, a bird, a yellow budgie, and a spirit, and many other characters. And she finds out who she actually, or what, I guess I should say, she actually is while trying to save the day. That was a terrible pitch, but I think I can do something with it in the editing so it doesn't sound so terrible. I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. The second book is still fantasy, of course. It's all in my own fantasy universe, Forgotten Songs. And that is a collection of short stories. I have a plan of 10 short stories in this collection. It's called Journeys, and each short story is going to be about one of the species of this world and their culture, their religion, their way of life, but not like in an encyclopedia kind of way. I wanted to have stories, actual interesting stories, and then have the culture sort of happening around the story, like in what they call things, in the way they talk. So it's all natural. Like you can sort of read between the lines about what this culture is. And that might actually turn into 2 books, but we'll see. Question number 2. If you were a book, how would you pitch yourself? If I was a book, I would be one of those rambly ones, I think. Why didn't I prepare for this? One of those where the author really got a lot to say and the sentences are really, really long. And it would be about a struggling artist trying to find his place in the world and the fight against himself, his greatest enemy. Question number 3. What do you usually write? Well, I write fantasy. Big surprise. I have this universe that I have been working on for over 10 years now. The first 8 years were pretty much just a weekend here and there, maybe a week where I found some momentum and I sort of wrote down ideas for plots, culture and religion and stuff, but nothing really serious. Until I was like, okay, enough with the ideas, now I need to do something about it. And so I spent some time, a great deal of time, actually getting started. And here I am. Question number 4. What is a genre you would never write? Probably Western. I don't know if people write Western anymore, but I have 0 interest in that setting. Sci-fi as well. Like, I love Star Wars, obviously. I'm in a Star Wars robe. But Star Wars is pretty much fantasy in space. This is a weird little anecdote, but I find, also it's not about writing, but a TV show. When Westworld came out, I had no interest in it, in even trying to watch it because it was Western. And then people say, it's not Western, it's sci-fi. And I was like, oh, So double no then. And then I gave in and watched it, and it was one of the best, at least the first season, some of the best TV that has ever been produced. Question number 5. What are the goals for the channel? So like I said, I actually made my channel a year ago, and I've sort of been trying to find my footing with it. The original goal for the channel was to give readers some ownership of the story that I wrote. And I feel like that's still a good idea and that can still happen. But it also requires readers. And me being a so far unpublished author, I don't have a whole lot of them. So I've done a bunch of live streams in the last year, and especially during NaNoWriMo, where I streamed every day, we gained some pretty good traction, and I connected with a lot of awesome people who many were also writers. And that's when it hit me that it sort of shifted my goal for the channel from being purely about the readers and giving them ownership, and maybe be about authors, other writers, connect with them, giving them some motivation, talking to them, listening to their stories and their ideas, because that was what was happening in my live stream. One of my cousin's girlfriends said it the best, probably, I think, in that, why steer away from the obvious? And those words stuck with me. So that's sort of when I also became aware of AuthorTube. So, we're sort of relaunching the channel now, I guess you could say. I was a little bit nervous for this question because as I was setting up, getting ready, I realized another goal for the channel, and it's about to get really real. So, heads up. And I'm not sure that I should be saying this. I'm not sure it's going to be in the edit. But here goes. One of my biggest fears in life is to be forgotten. Weirdly enough, that's not where I got the name for my universe, Forgotten Songs, from, but it fits. And I don't know where this fear stems from, but I have experienced it in life where people forget about me as a person, and it felt terrible. And so I realized as I was getting ready for this that the reason I keep making content on YouTube, I had a gaming channel that never took off before this one. But I think one of the reasons is to have a little bit of a, how do you say it? To have a little corner where I am. This is me. And I'm up there, up for the world to see. And unless someone deletes me, I'll always be there. And, people won't forget me. And maybe that's also one of the things that I aspire to as a writer, to make good enough stories that even when I'm gone, people will look at them and say, wow. That was amazing. He really knew how to pull on the heartstrings. And I'm not saying this to gain sympathy or subscribers. Just want to make that clear. But I think that is a deep-seated goal for me in general, to not be forgotten. And like I said, I don't know where it comes from. I have a wonderful family and wonderful friends who I love very dearly, and I hope they love me as well. I think they do. And they don't forget about me. And I don't know why they should. But it's there. Okay, that went extraordinarily heavy. That was what I was scared of. So let's try to pick up the pace, shall we? Question number 6. What made you start writing? So oh, this is weird. Okay, I'm just gonna force myself through this. Sorry for the really janky transition between tones of this video. What made you start writing? I've always been creative. I've always wanted to make something, build something. And then around 2014, I sort of got this idea from, maybe it was from Game of Thrones. It was a mix of Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire. I had just finished A Dance with Dragons, which is funnily enough what this book is. This is George R. R. Martin's Dance with Dragons in Danish. And I was like, damn, that was good. It was a good story, but also this whole universe of events happening and history and disasters, wars, and damn, that was good. And of course, I've always been deep into fantasy. I am a long-time player of World of Warcraft, for example, and that also inspired me. It's the same thing. It's this grand universe, this epic universe, these great stories. And I was also like, you know what I think is missing from these stories? It's a fantasy universe that's much more focusing on the characters, the feelings of the characters. All fantasy stories are about the universe, but I sort of had this idea of what if we had stories that focused on the characters, but this grand magical setting is sort of just happening around them. You know, sort of like real life. And I thought I could maybe do that. I don't know if that's a true statement or not. It's probably not. You know, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. And I don't even think that what I am writing is living up to that idea, that ideal. But yeah, that's sort of why I started. I sort of realized this while I was editing, that I forgot something about when I started to write. I think it was the first essay assignment that we got in school, and it was a freeform essay, and I basically copied the plot from The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past into a really short story. I mean, I was, 8, 9, 10, but I really loved it. And not only that, but humble brag, my teacher loved it as well, and she read it aloud to the entire class. So that's actually when I started to write. And so all throughout school, I continued to write, and I continued to love freeform writing. And you know what stopped me from pursuing it, from writing more? I was bad at grammar, so I thought I couldn't be a writer. Let that sink in. And don't be like me if you have a passion. And back to the next question. Cheers. Question number 7. What is your publishing path? Being an unpublished author who hasn't even written the first draft of their book, I don't have a publishing path. And I don't know what it will be. Right now, I have my webpage and YouTube as sort of my way of spreading my stories. So I guess that's my publishing path currently, at least. The dream, of course, is that someone in traditional publishing wants to make hardback copies of my stories. 8. What is your biggest writing struggle? My biggest writing struggle is procrastination. 100 million% procrastination. And then, of course, so writing skill-wise, I think my biggest struggle is writing convoluted sentences, which is something that since I'm talking about it, I'm aware of it, but I think I still do it. At least I know my first drafts are terribly convoluted sometimes, and they don't make a lot of sense. Question number 9. What is your best writing skill? I think I write characters and dialogue really well. That's at least something I'm very proud of. I think I'm very good at connecting with the emotions and struggles of the characters that I write. You know, writers write what they know, so it's often easy to put yourself in those situations. When I write dialogue, the pages fly by. And question number 10, what do you want to know from other AuthorTubers? I think I want to know maybe a little bit more about their publishing paths, their plans, and I would love to hear what works or what worked and what didn't work for other AuthorTubers and how well it worked, the things that they did. Oh, my leg is asleep. This was not supposed to be this long. Other leg, come on, you're not that old. He was that old. Question 11. What are you looking for with your channel? I think I'm looking for other people who are interested in writing. Good people, happy people, kind people, nice people, who maybe want to share some of their experience, to tell me what their stories is about and how they go about doing it. I'm not the most vocal person in regards to commenting other people's stuff, but when I've been live streaming and people, other writers and other AuthorTubers dropped by, and it was honestly amazing chatting with them. Maybe people to do fun videos with. That could be fun. Twice the fun. Connections and collaborations. There we have it. And lastly, what are you most excited about for AuthorTube? Connections and collaborations, but also showing my progress, even the good and the bad, chatting to people who also like writing, chatting to people who like reading, chatting to people who are on the verge of beginning to write. And I think that's what my videos this year is going to be focused about. It's the motivation aspect, the getting started. Every time some kind soul leaves a comment saying how seeing what I did, what I've done, what I'm doing, motivated them to get started, that honestly feels freaking amazing. And it makes me want to do even more. So that's what I'm excited for. That was it. 12 questions about me. One of them extraordinarily heavy. I hope you'll bear with me on that one if it is indeed in the final video. And segueing from my answer from that last question, up here is a video of beginning to write, and I hope you'll watch that. If you want to see more of my journey into writing, into fantasy writing, then please remember to subscribe and maybe even like this video. And remember, we write our own stories. Bye!